Hello everyone, my name is Emily and today I will be going over lesson 1 of beginning JavaScript. First, I will go over the virtual code of conduct that students should follow during our classes. You should be respectful, make sure to turn your camera on if you can, use your first name and last name, and make sure that you are staying on task. The schedule that we'll be following during our classes will be starting class and learning from 4:15 to 5, having a 10-minute break, and then resuming class until 5:45. A quick overview of what we'll be doing today is that we'll be learning about the coordinate plane, we'll be creating and drawing basic shapes, and hopefully we will be having fun. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and log into Khan Academy. So if you go to khanacademy.org, just as it is up here, you can go ahead and log in. So if you already have an email or your username, you can use that to sign in, or you can go ahead and continue at Google and sign in with your email if you're signed in. You could also sign up if you don't already have an account. Once you get here, I want you to go ahead and go to the courses and then go down to computer programming, and from here you'll be able to scroll down and create a new JavaScript program. Now I want you to go ahead and save that program and give it whatever name you want. So you can name it Saying Program, you could name it My Program, it's totally up to you. So go ahead and save that, and you'll know that you have saved your project once you can see the spin-off next to save, and you can also see settings down here. So go ahead, pause the video, try that out, and then you can go ahead and resume the video. Additionally, you can also use this link to create a new project. Now I will go ahead and review the regular coordinate plane. So if you guys have seen the coordinate plane before, you've likely seen this version of it. So it has a x-axis, which is a horizontal axis, and it also has a y-axis, which is a vertical axis. As you can see, their values increase as they move upward or to the right, and they decrease as they move down or to the left. You can also notice how x is going to be 0 and y is going to be 0 at the center. One way to show the point on the regular coordinate plane is by using this notation. So you have your x value and then your y value separated by a comma in between parentheses. So this means that you're at the value 3 on the x-axis and the value 2 on the y-axis. If you switch these numbers, for example, and you have 2, 3 instead, you'll go to 2 on the x-axis and 3 on the y-axis. So your point would be up here instead. However, the JavaScript coordinate plane is a bit different because unlike the regular coordinate plane, which starts at 0, 0 and goes outward, the JavaScript coordinate plane starts at 0, 0 at the very top left corner, and then it's going to increase as it goes to the right or as it goes downward. So its max x and y values are going to be 400, 400. So you're going to have your 400, 400 in the bottom right corner, and over here you'll have your x value of 400, y value of 0, and then down here you'll have your y value of 400 and x value of 0. This also means that this center point right here will be 200, 200. You want to keep this domain in mind when you're creating your shapes because you want to make sure that their x and y values are less than or equal to 400 so that they show up on the screen. So over here you can see how the x value is moving 200 to the right and then the y is moving 200 down. Now I will be going over some basic shapes. So one basic shape is a square or rectangle. You can create this by using the rect function and passing in an x, y, width, and height value. One thing to keep in mind is that the x and y is going to be for the top left corner. Additionally, you can make a circle or ellipse by using the ellipse function and passing in the x, y, width, and height. This time, since ellipses do not have corners, the x and y are going to be for the center. Lastly, if you want to go ahead and color your shapes, you can use fill and pass in red, green, and blue values. The maximum number that you can put for a red, green, or blue value is 255, and the minimum is going to be 0. Now I want you to go ahead and pause the video, copy this code down on your new project, and play around with the different numbers and see what they do. Once you are done playing around with the values, go ahead and unpause the video and I will go over it. If you finish early, try drawing a rectangle exactly in the upper left corner. Now that you've had some time to go ahead and try this yourself, I will go over it on my program. So over here, I've copied these in, and you can see how I have a red circle here and a blue rectangle here. So if I go to this first fill, you can see that it's going to be a red color. This is because it has the full amount of red, but it has 0 green or blue. I can change this color by either manually changing these, so you can see how it's going to affect this, so it's going to slightly change that, or I could alternatively also use this color picker and I could scroll through these different values so I don't need to come up with the numbers myself. Here in the ellipse, you'll notice how the first value is going to be x, so that controls where it is horizontally. As it increases, it moves to the right. As it decreases, it moves to the left. And then there's the y value next, so as it increases, it moves down. As it decreases, it moves up. Additionally, we have our width, which is how wide it is, and we have our height, which is how tall it is. Something you'll notice is that when we bring our ellipse so that it overlaps with the rectangle, it actually goes behind it. The reason for this is because when JavaScript is reading the code for this program, it goes from top down. So it's going to draw anything that it reads at the bottom on top of what it previously drew. So over here, it's going to draw the ellipse first, and then it'll draw the rectangle on top of it. So when you create shapes, you want to be careful about that. Additionally, here you can see how there's the red color for the rectangle. You could change that. And then there's also the different x, y, width, height for the rectangle. And then if you want to bring it to the top left corner, you could go ahead and increase the x to 300. And then you could decrease the y to 0. And then so that's going to go ahead and bring it to the top right corner. Or this one was the upper left, but yeah. So now I will be going over the background. So you can color your background using the code background and then adding RGB values. So over here, if I go back to my code, I can apply a background and I can add the different red, green, blue values. Something to be careful about when you're using a background is you want to make sure it's at the top of your code, because if I, for example, write my background after my ellipse, you can see how it's going to draw on top of it, because JavaScript, if you remember, reads from the top to the bottom, so it's just stacking everything. So you want to make sure that it is at the very top. Something else that you can use is no stroke. So this is going to get rid of the borders on shapes, and you want to make sure that you go ahead and put it at the start of your code so it applies for everything. So for example, I can go back here and I can apply no stroke, and then I'll quickly just lighten up the background a bit so you can notice it a bit more. But if you notice right now, there's going to be no black border, but then if I remove the no stroke, you'll see that there's a black border now. So this can be especially useful if you're planning to combine shapes and you don't want to see the individual outlines. Now, I want you to go ahead and think about how you would draw this using only rectangles and ellipses. So pause this video, think about it, and resume it when you are done thinking about it. You can draw this shape by using rectangles for the car base and for the road, and then also using ellipses for the two wheels. So one thing to remember as we're going to start this project is that you can use background and put in RGB values, and you can also use no stroke. So I want you to go ahead and draw your own car using background, no stroke, and I want you to draw the top rectangle, draw the bottom rectangle, draw the two wheels, and color them. And then if you finish early, go ahead and draw a road under the car. So go ahead and make your own car, your own road, and your own background. If you finish early, you could add other things to the background. But just make sure that you have a car on the screen, and ideally you don't want it to be too big so that it will be able to move across the screen later on. So go ahead, pause the video, customize your own car, and resume it when you are done making your car. Now I want you to go ahead and save your project. So go to your Khan Academy project. By the way, when you're creating your car, you could have deleted all of this code. So go to your Khan Academy project and press the save button, and you are good to go when it says saved instead, and it is gray. This will allow you to pick up off of where you left next class. Now we'll be doing some review. So the first question, how can you change the colors of your shapes? So you can go ahead and pause the video, think about it, and resume the video when you have your answer. You can change the colors of your shapes by using the fill function and putting red, green, and blue values into the function. Next, what is the code to remove borders of shapes? The code to remove borders of shapes is no stroke. Last, what are the two shapes we learned to draw today? We learned how to draw ellipses and rectangles today. That was it for lesson 1. So as a reminder, there are Tuesday and Sunday office hours during the fall and spring sessions. So you can attend them from 4:15 to 5:15 p.m. and you can get additional help if needed. This is the Zoom meeting ID. And so that is it for lesson 1. Thank you for listening.